Hello, I'm John Rink, Director of Studies in Music at St. John's, joined by Tim Watts, who's also Director of Studies in Music, and four of our students at different levels in their studies. We're just going to tell you a little bit about the interview experience, the admissions process. When students come to Cambridge for their interviews, they meet a range of people. In music, people meet Tim and me for about 40 minutes for an interview, and often two additional members of the college for a separate interview. We give students a range of tests as a sort of discussion document and to give a sense also of your backgrounds. But the interview itself is an excellent opportunity to explore ideas, get a sense of how you think on your feet, to probe some issues that you raise in your personal statements or in other parts of your application, basically just to get to know you as a person. We never make it a difficult process. We try very hard to welcome people and have a nice chat, just of the type that we would have if you were a student at Cambridge already. Tim, you might like to say a little bit about the test, just to give an idea to people about what to expect.
Sure, yeah, very briefly. So we ask all candidates to complete a written test where they'll deal with a short extract of writing about any particular branch of music, and we'll ask them to make a little resume in bullet point fashion of salient points, and then maybe to discuss a particular question at greater length, and to put together a very kind of short mini essay, which we then discuss in the interview. Then there's a technical test in which there'll be a piece or a little collection of pieces that we'll ask them to discuss from an analytical point of view, and perhaps some exercises in harmonic analysis, other kinds of analysis. And again, as John was suggesting, that these are very much discussion documents, and when it works, it gives us an opportunity to see how a candidate would get on in a kind of a supervision teaching situation, a kind of a one-to-one teaching situation. And you know, inevitably, there's the potential for the interview situation to be a stressful one, for a test to seem like an onerous kind of make or break moment. But we do everything that we can to get across the idea that it's very much the kind of about a process, and about looking at teachability, and about the kind of the way in which you respond to kind of exchanges of ideas that would happen in a supervision. And it would be interesting to hear now whether that's how it felt to the people who had to go through this experience. In some cases, a number of years ago, but in some cases, Joe, fairly recently. Is that, do you still have flashbacks? Was that something that you've moved on from?
Yeah, no flashbacks. But no, I think you're right. It's a process that can seem very daunting, but shouldn't do. I think the interview particularly is designed not to sort of catch you out and find out all the things you don't know, but I think is more designed to be an opportunity for you to show Tim and John where your strengths lie and how you might be able to contribute to a sort of Cambridge style supervision, because that's very much what it's sort of modelled on, the sort of close one-to-one or small group teaching environments that become sort of day-to-day if you become an undergraduate here in Cambridge.
Great. Scarlett and Leo, you're now finishing your second year, so the interview's a little bit further in the back. What were your impressions of it, and indeed the whole admissions process generally?
I remember being quite sort of daunted when I first came in, but actually coming out and speaking to my dad, who'd come to pick me up, and saying I actually quite enjoyed that. I mean, I remember, you know, thinking I didn't think I would get in necessarily, or I didn't necessarily think that it had gone brilliantly well, but I didn't feel it had gone really badly either. And I remember, you know, actually really enjoying having the chance to have a sort of conversation about things I was really interested in, and to sort of push myself really. So I'm not sure if you're meant to enjoy it, but I quite like it. Yeah,
I quite agree. And also I mean, just another thing that was, you know, possibly quite surprising is that I didn't leave at all feeling like stupid about anything, as in why did I do this, why did I do that? Because the discussion with Tim and John and others as well, and was just that really. It was a discussion and incredibly stimulating. And if I happen to get stuck on anything, it wouldn't be like, oh, well, let me write that down and that'll count against you. It was, we'll work through it together, and actually you will learn something from this, whatever happens anyway.
Great. I remember very much the question that you asked at the end of your interview, Leo. We always ask students if they have any questions for us. They normally say, how many practice rooms are there? Or is there much time each day for, judo practice or whatever it is? And so we said, Leo, do you have any questions? He said, yes, I do have a question. Was Brahms a progressive? And I said, well, Leo, we only have like 1 minute, but I parked that and I still have to discuss it with you, I think. Laura, tell us a bit about your experience now 4 years ago.
4 years ago, yeah. I did really enjoy it, as Scarlett said. It's definitely more about how you think than what you know. So almost it felt like the point of it was to push you into a space where you didn't really have much of an idea what was going on, or you didn't have as much knowledge to fall back on. And when you're in that space, then feeding you ideas and seeing how you responded to them and pushing ideas and seeing how far they could go. And that was quite exciting because it's not the kind of teaching that, or at least the kind of teaching that I'd experienced before coming to Cambridge. And that was very cool, having an experience of that. The main thing I remember though is coming out afterwards and thinking, did I really just pick a fight about performance studies with the world expert in performance studies, and thinking, oh, I've messed up, blown it.
So I haven't quite recovered from that. But,
I've never recovered from that.
No, it was great. And in fact, your interview was very exciting for Tim and me, because every question we put to you rose to the challenge and answered it better than we'd even imagined would be possible. So we kept asking harder and harder questions, and you seemed to enjoy it, and you of course did very well, as all of you did. People often say, what are you looking for? And I think this distinction between what you know and how you think is important. We look for imagination, independence of thought, evidence of initiative, these qualities that are very important in the Cambridge environment and that we really do want to see in our students. We have an extremely varied range of people studying with us, which makes it a very interesting body of people. These are all people with interests that they've pursued and wish to take further. That's why they want to come to university. They want to expand themselves and build on what they already know and go much, much further thanks to the skills, contacts and so forth that they encounter here. So that's the interview process in a nutshell. One last thing to say is that we do also look at written work that students submit, essays and technical work, compositions or harmony and counterpoint exercises, that thing. It's very important that candidates send work that they consider representative of their interests and abilities. Be prepared at interview to talk about that work. It's important that you know what you did, and also how you know how you think you might improve on what you did. That can be interesting too. So these are some comments. Do feel free to ask us any questions that you have through the admissions office or directly. Thank you all very much.